I just know that if it was my husband that was saying or doing the things that my mom has done, that y'all would not be telling me that I need to stay with him and talk to him and make it work.
Hey people, how you are doing today? Take Out Destiny here and welcome back to my channel. How you are doing? Hope you guys are doing great. So today's video we want to talk about no contact to parents. So this girl went on TikTok to talk about how people should stop telling people that have no contact with their parents to try to resolve things, to try to make things up, to settle issues with their parents. And just listen what she has to say.
Stop telling people who are no contact with their parents that they need to either make things right, they need to talk to their parents, or that's your mom. Like, how can you just not talk to her? I had someone on my live yesterday say that my mom is not guaranteed tomorrow, and that should give me the reason that I need to talk to her. Y'all only know the 2 stories that I've told y'all. I have 26 years worth of things that have happened. I just know that if it was my husband that was saying or doing the things that my mom has done, that y'all would not be telling me that I need to stay with him and talk to him and make it work. So why is it different when it comes to parents? I don't care who you are. I have boundaries. I'm not gonna let people treat me just whichever way they want to treat me. Also, keep in mind that me being no contact with my mom was not an easy decision for me. It is not something I wanted to do or that I took lightly. And I'm still not happy about it. I don't want to have this sort of relationship. I don't want to be doing this. But I'm also putting myself first and doing what I feel is best.
This got a lot of people talking. I have my own personal story, and I have a parent that I am in no contact with, which I'm going to share my story. But let's get your other people's thoughts on this, and then we'll come back and talk.
Stop telling people who are no contact with their parents that they need to either make things right.
When a person goes no contact with a parent, it's usually for a good reason. Most children do not want to go no contact with their parents. So when you say stuff like, oh, you need to make that right, or that's your mom, that's your dad, you only get one of them, it's insensitive, it's dismissive, because you weren't there for the emotional manipulation, you weren't there for the narcissism, you weren't there for the body shaming, you weren't there for the abuse, you just were not there. If the people cut their parents off, they cut them off for a good reason. And if you cannot be a good support system behind that, it's best to just keep your mouth closed on the situation. A lot of people have either never been in the situation, or they say stuff like, well, you know, I got physically abused by my parent, or this happened with my parent, and, you know, we're still good to this day. Are you really? Everybody responds to everything differently, and you are allowed to cut anybody out of your life that you want to, including your parents.
Stop telling people who are no contact with their parents that they need to either make things right.
Whenever I talk about going no contact, I talk about how there came a point in my life where I knew that I could either have a healthy and whole life, or I could have a relationship with my family, but I could not have both. And trust me, I fought it. I tried to avoid it for years. I thought, you know, is there any other way besides no contact? But I came to the realization that I could not have a good life and keep in contact with my family, no matter how hard I tried, no matter how much mental health care I did, no matter what I did for myself to make myself a healthy person. It was not going to happen because my family was not in a place where they wanted to be healthy people and grow too. And so I was only going to be re-traumatized for my entire life, and I couldn't keep doing that to myself. And so I made the decision. It was me or them, and I chose myself. And people do not often understand how incredibly painful of a decision it is to voluntarily orphan myself and estrange myself from my siblings in order for my mental health to improve. And it has improved immensely, but it is not the decision that I would have wanted to make. I spend holidays alone. That's not fun. When people go, oh, what do your parents do? Oh, where do your parents live? I just have to go, yeah, you know, I think that it's not a fun life. And if you are no contact with your family or with a certain family member, you don't owe anybody an explanation. You don't owe them reasons. You don't owe justification. If they don't understand, then that is something that is not compassionate within them. It is not your ability to explain yourself better. You don't owe anyone anything. This is not the life that I would have chosen for myself, but it is a life where I am happy, where I am safe, and where for the first time in my life I can thrive, because I am not continually being knocked down by narcissistic abuse and spending all my time recovering from that rather than working toward my own life, my own healing, my own business. I am able to live a free and happy, healthy life because I am not putting the emotional energy of recovering from a family that constantly abuses, verbally abuses, emotionally abuses, and manipulates me and each other. That energy can now be spent bettering myself and bettering my life.
Telling people who are no contact with their parents that they need to either make things right.
I wholeheartedly stand by this, because I feel like, first of all, as a child, it's not my job to reach out to my parents if they're not reaching out to me. That's one. And two, the things that my father has done to me, I've forgiven him for, because I'm not just gonna walk around with hate in my heart, because that's just not me. You know, I'm not living my day-to-day worried about what my dad did back in 2019. But at the same time, we just will never speak again. My dad literally kicked me out my last day of high school and didn't even come to my graduation the next week. The year of 2018 to 2019, my father had remarried because my mother had passed away in 2016. And when I say my mother, and my father, I mean my adoptive parents. So yeah, me and my two younger siblings are adopted. When this lady came around, or whatever the case may be, I was a senior in high school. And my little brother was in 8th grade. My other little brother, I think he was a freshman or a sophomore. My 8th grade little brother, they ended up putting him back in foster care. And it wasn't on purpose. It kind of was on purpose, but it really wasn't. So what happened was they put him in a residential. And the residential was supposed to be for 2 weeks. But they never picked him up. And so the residential people called CPS. And my dad just let them have him, basically. The next year in 2020, when I got my first apartment, is when my other brother ended up getting kicked out. So he had to come stay with me. This is my first apartment. I'm only 19 years old and I'm taking care of a 17-year-old child. So when people say, like, you know, why you don't speak to your dad? That's your dad. Because my dad don't speak to me. I tried reaching out to him on the 2nd of this year, of May, because that was his birthday. No response. My birthday is 2 days after my dad's. You think I got a text? No. And I just see my aunt the other day, my dad's sister. She said she reached out to him as well on his birthday and didn't get any response. So we're to the point where we just accept it for what it is. I still got love for my daddy forever. And, you know, I get where he was coming from as far as, like, you know, with him being I feel like he was low-key kind of manipulated with the situation that he's in, the relationship he's in. But I feel like also as a man, you shouldn't let nobody come before your kids. Simple. And for that, I will never reach out to him ever again.
Stop telling people who are no contact with their parents that they need to either make things right.
I cannot explain how soul-crushing of an experience it is to go no contact with your parents, especially when your parents are immigrant parents. My mother is Nigerian and my father is Ghanaian. I also grew up in an incredibly religious, like, Roman Catholic household. So, like, the entirety of my experience growing up as a kid was you were with your family. Your family was your number one support system. Like, that's all you had. And for many, many years, I lived that way. I was incredibly studious. I got the best grades in school. I tried everything I could possibly do to make my parents happy. And it was funny because growing up my whole life, everybody would always compare me to my mother and how she didn't take bullshit. I didn't take bullshit either. And so, to everybody's shock and surprise, for some reason it seemed to be, when I got older, I didn't take people. That included my parents. Now, I'm not going to get into this huge deep dive of all trauma, because who wants to hear that? But at about 18, I made the decision to try to go no contact with my parents. And obviously it didn't work. And over the course of college, I've done every mix of no contact, calling only on the weekends, calling on certain days, whatever. And what I find time and time again is when I go no contact with my parents, it is always the best my mental health is for an extended period of time. And to make matters worse, what people don't understand is that because your parents know you very well or know a lot of you, they will quite literally, especially when they're trying to force you to communicate with them, use psychological triggers that they know will get you to react or call or whatever. And this isn't me trying to pretend to say that I was the most perfect and best child possible. But when you reach a point where you have somebody who's commenting on your looks and body weight every time you see them, when you've told someone that you recently quit a job and it's really good for your mental health, and the first question they ask you every time when you get on the phone is, what's your next job? Or they call you, and every time they call you, they don't ask how you are, or they'll tell you insane conspiracies about family members, just like the whole 9 yards. It takes a toll. And eventually you have to ask yourself if you're willing to deal with that every day for the rest of your life, or if you're just going to put boundaries. Like right now, I'm in a place where I'm not talking to either one of my parents. My mother more recently than my father, but she has called me nonstop. And when I was younger, what I would always do is I would pick up the phone and try to have a very calm conversation, and it always leads to us screaming. And when I went no contact with my father, I actually told him I was going no contact before I did it. But with my mother, the guilt that she uses can be almost like soul crushing, you know? And so I've just decided to go no contact without even saying anything to her. And so if you're someone like me who's struggling with this, who feels bad or guilty, or that guilt of it being an immigrant child, please don't. And please take care of yourself, because you deserve it more than anything else.
Stop telling people who are no contact with their parents that they need to either make things right.
Yes to everything that creator said. I find that oftentimes people will project whatever relationship or whatever coping skills or dynamics that they've had with their own mothers onto me and say those same things like, that's your mom. Well, she's been through a lot. And it's like, I too have been through a lot because of also her. Also, there's a lot of other things that are out of both of our controls, but it is never an easy decision for people to be no contact or to not really contact their parents or engage with them. And I find that oftentimes when people, shame me or make me feel like, oh, you should do more, you should try to mend this relationship, I ask, like, do you think I haven't tried that? Do you think I have not tried everything in the book? I've not been empathetic. I've not been the mother oftentimes in our relationship and dynamic, that I have not made an effort to do the things that she wanted me to do just for her to not try or grow. Like, a lot of these things that you would hear in a relationship, like a romantic relationship, the gaslighting, the narcissism, the imbalance in the relationship, if you heard that, you tell your friend, like, hey, you should really, like, let that person go. This person is not, they might be a good person. They've been through a lot and can have all the empathy, but that person is not healthy for you. So why does that change when it's a parent? A parent is just a person. We always say, like, our parents are people. Like, when you realize your parents are just people, like, you have more understanding, like, you don't put them on a pedestal. I'm like, exactly. If that's true, then why do we put our parents on a pedestal and act as if they are immune from accountability and change and remorse at the bare minimum? Like, it's, if someone who doesn't have contact with their parents, mind your business or ask why, and not from a place of judgment, but from a place of understanding. Because I think too often it's just like this judgment of, like, you must not really care about your parents. And it's like, no, I love them. That's why it's hard. That's why it's hard for me,
Telling people who are no contact with their parents that they need to either make things right.
I think what a lot of people miss is that a lot of us didn't actually want to go no contact with our parents. We were forced to, because when a parent puts a child in a position where the child has to choose themselves and their mental health over the emotional, physical, spiritual damage that's being done to the child by the parent, it's one of the most difficult decisions that an individual can make. And I think it's really important to note that a lot of us understand the trauma that our parents went through prior to having us. We understand that they didn't have the resources that we have now. We understand that they didn't grow up the way that we have grown up with them. But all we have ever asked of them is to stop treating us as if what they've done to us has had no impact on us, especially when we've taken the time to understand how their lives and their parents have impacted them. I told my mother directly that I would rather be homeless on the street with nothing and have a healthy relationship with her than have her speak to me and treat me the way that she has. And it still didn't click for her. I went through some of the worst losses in my life, and she mocked the entire situation. So for me, when a parent kicks a child when they're at the low points that I have faced, you forced me to go no contact with you, because at that point, contact with you is causing me physical harm. A lot of people don't understand that a lot of us have very internal reactions to the hurt and pain that our parents have caused us that manifests itself in a physical nature. For me, I start shaking, I get night sweats, I start having panic attacks. It affects me to the point where I can't even mentally focus. And this has shown up in a plethora of my relationships, romantic relationships with partners who mirrored behavior of my parents, specifically my mother and my father. Well, yeah, those are my parents. I mean, I don't claim them. Anyway, what I'm saying is people have to push a lot of us to the point of no contact, because a lot of us want those very relationships that you guys are telling us that we need. That's your mom, that's your dad, that's your husband, that's your sister, that's your auntie, that's your uncle. Okay, and who am I? Who am I? Do I not matter in this equation? Because if I'm not going to matter to you, them, I have to matter to myself. Like, I can't just continue to put everyone ahead of me. And that's why a lot of us have chosen to go no contact. And there are plenty of us that are not going to come back for the inheritance because we never needed your money. We wanted your love, respect, kindness, protection, care. That's what we wanted. And I'm not saying that money doesn't matter, because it does, but what mattered more was love and respect for my parents, not what they gave me. And I've been an empath and a people pleaser. So, if I had to cut somebody off, I had to be pushed there, because doormats put up with everything.
Please go down in the comment section and share your thought, because that's what we do here. We have amazing conversation. So go down in the comment section and share your thought. But please, please, please keep it respectful. You don't have to disrespect anybody for you to air your opinion. So let's be respectful down in the comment section, okay? So for me personally, I am in no contact with my father since 2020. That people that choose to have no contact with a parent or their parent, it's for one very good reason or the other. It's not because they just don't want to talk to that parent. It's because probably that parent is very toxic and is affecting them. So they just have to cut cut things out. So I totally agree. I know I've had friends, I've had family members call me sisters, brothers, telling me, oh, you need to settle this thing with your father. But the truth is that I have already made peace with it, and I am even more happier in peace not having no contact with him, because every time it seems like he triggers me, and that trigger, which is not good for me, which over time makes me to relapse mentally. And for these years that I have not spoken to him, 4 years now, I'll say in that aspect of those triggers that he triggers me, even though I'm going to talk about my husband later. But for my dad personally, my dad is not a bad person, but he had his own downside, that it's so toxic, it's so controlling, it's so manipulative, that I was not ready to deal with it anymore. And when I choose to have no contact with him, it's for a very good reason. That for me, that was just what broke the comments back. Something happened 2022, and that was it for me. Maybe one of these days I'll share it with you guys, but not now. I don't feel like sharing it now, but that was just what just break it, because all this time, and somebody would tell you, anybody in my family would tell you that I had a good relationship with my dad. Like, among all his children, I was that one that was like his baby girl. But I also identify how toxic it could be. And when what happened 2020 happened, I saw it more like an eye opener, and God just telling me, like, you know what, it's time, like, cut this off. And at that point, that was where I started my own journey and my own healing process of bettering myself, knowing myself, be like, live in my true authentic self, and don't condone any form of negative energy around me. And I was able to point out that my father was one of those people that I had to cut off. And there's this saying that all people always get messed up, that blood is thicker than water. What some people don't know is that that saying is actually wrong. The actual full saying is that the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb, which means that the friendship, the family you choose, to have bonds with are stronger than the family you came from. And over time now, even doing this with even having no contact with my father, I've come to realize that, yeah, they are actually, because I even have friends and some people in my life that were not blood related, but yeah, like they mean so much to me. So I totally agree that people should stop telling people that have no contact with their parents or with a parent to go resolve things, because the underlying issue, the person may not be able and comfortable sharing it with you, but something triggered that action to say, okay, no contact with this parent. You get what I'm saying? I'm in a fantastic relationship with my mom and my other siblings, like fine, but with my dad, no. And since I tried to do no contact with him, has he tried ever to even reach out to me, even via my husband? Never. He has never for once tried to reach out to me to like, oh, where did our friendship, where did our relationship went south, and let's try. No, because like an African parents would be, they are never in the wrong. They they can never hurt you. They are always right. They are not toxic. They know it all. But I personally, I was done at it. I'm almost in my 40s and I'm done with it. I'm trying to make myself a better person and even a happier person. So I don't need those negative energy of control, of um, neglect, of I just don't need it. Anyway, guys, please go down in the comment section and share your thought about this discussion down in the comment section. Love to know what you guys really think. Go down in the comment section and share your thought. Love to read from you guys. But please, let's keep it respectful. You don't have to disrespect anybody to air your opinion. So let's keep it respectful down there, okay? With that all said, share this video with somebody that you want to be part of this conversation, because that's what we do here. We have amazing conversation. Please give this video a thumbs up, smash the like button, because that helps YouTube to push out my content, and that will be you supporting your girl. So go ahead, share this video, comment, give the video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't subscribed, and I'll see you guys in my next video. Deuces.